One rainy night, a single accident shatters everything. Liam Westwood, a wealthy man used to control, comes face to face with Zara, a fearless nurse he could never have expected. What starts as guilt soon spirals into obsession, desire, and dangerous secrets. Every choice threatens to change their lives forever, but some nights don't just alter your fate, they transform who you are, in ways you could never imagine. Dare to witness the night that will change everything. The city looked different in the rain. The streets gleamed like black mirrors, catching the fractured glow of neon signs and red tail lights. Liam Westwood gripped the steering wheel of his silver Aston Martin, his jaw tight, his thoughts louder than the steady thrum of the wipers. It was almost 1 a.m. He should have been at home, asleep in his expensive but empty penthouse. Instead, he was leaving yet another gala, yet another night of smiling through conversations that meant nothing. He could still smell the whiskey on his breath, still feel the weight of fake laughter that had echoed in the ballroom. He had everything, money, status, power, but the question kept circling back like a vulture. Why did it all feel so hollow? He pressed harder on the accelerator. The car purred, gliding down the slick road, slicing through the rain. Zara crossed her arms against the chill as she stepped out of the hospital staff entrance. The night air was heavy, thick with the scent of wet concrete. Her sneakers were soaked, her braids clinging to her shoulders from the drizzle that hadn't let up all evening. It had been a brutal shift, too many patients, too little staff. She was bone-tired, her legs aching, but she had to walk home. Her apartment was only a 15-minute trek away, and she couldn't justify spending money on a cab when rent was already looming over her like a shadow. She pulled her hoodie tighter and quickened her pace. The streets were mostly empty now, the city's daytime chaos reduced to the occasional passing car and the hiss of rain on pavement. Liam's phone buzzed on the passenger seat, lighting up with a name he didn't want to see. He ignored it. When it buzzed again, he cursed under his breath, snatched it up, and glanced at the screen. A text from his ex, something bitter about seeing him at the gala with someone else. He looked away from the road for a second too long. The figure appeared out of nowhere, a flash of movement on the crosswalk. Liam slammed the brakes, tires screaming on the wet road. The thud was sickening. For a split second there was silence. Then his own heartbeat thundered in his ears. Zara lay on the slick asphalt, pain radiating up her side. She blinked against the rain, the streetlights above her blurring. God, no, no, no. The voice was male, panicked. Footsteps splashed toward her, and then a face hovered above hers. Pale skin, storm-gray eyes wide with horror. Stay with me, he said, kneeling beside her. His hands hovered uselessly as if afraid to touch her. I'm calling an ambulance. No, Zara rasped. Her breath caught, every word costing effort. Nearest hospital, 3 blocks. Just drive. Liam hesitated only a second before scooping her up, rain soaking through his tailored jacket. She was lighter than he expected, and frighteningly still except for her shallow breathing. He carried her to the car, laying her across the leather passenger seat as gently as he could. His hands were shaking as he started the engine. The drive felt endless, though it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. Liam's mind spun in circles. What if she dies? What if I killed her? He kept glancing at her, terrified every time her eyelids fluttered closed. Stay awake, he pleaded, his voice cracking. Just hang on a little longer. When he skidded to a stop outside the emergency entrance, he leapt out and shouted for help. Nurses rushed out with a stretcher, lifting Zara away from him. Liam followed them into the hospital, ignoring the security guard telling him to wait outside. For the next hour, he sat in the harsh fluorescent glow of the waiting room, soaked to the skin, his expensive clothes plastered to him like a second skin. The receptionist had asked if he was family. He had said yes. He wasn't sure why, maybe because the thought of being told to leave felt unbearable. Every sound made him flinch. The squeak of shoes on the floor, the rattle of a gurney, the opening and closing of distant doors. Finally, a doctor approached him. She's stable, the doctor said. A dislocated shoulder and a fractured rib, but nothing life-threatening. She's lucky. Liam exhaled for the first time since the impact. When he was allowed to see her, Zara was lying on the hospital bed, her braids spread across the pillow, her brown skin looking pale under the fluorescent lights. Her eyes flicked toward him as he stepped inside. You again, she murmured, her voice dry. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Zara studied him for a long moment. You hit me. The words sliced through him like a blade. Yes, he said quietly. And I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't see you. You were speeding. He swallowed hard. Yes. For a moment, the only sound was the steady beep of the monitor. Then Zara closed her eyes. "Well," she whispered, "at least you didn't run." Liam stared at her, stunned. "People run?" Her eyelids fluttered open and she gave a tired, humorless smile. "More often than you think." He had no answer to that. Liam stayed long after visiting hours were over, sitting in the chair by her bed as she drifted in and out of sleep. He watched the rise and fall of her chest, the occasional twitch of her fingers, the way her breathing evened out when she was finally at rest. He should have left. He should have gone home, showered, and pretended this never happened. But the thought of walking away felt wrong. Like if he did, he would lose something he didn't yet understand. So he stayed. Sometime after 4 a.m., Zara stirred again, blinking at him through half-lidded eyes. "You're still here?" she whispered. "Yes." "Why?" Liam hesitated. The truth felt raw, but he said it anyway. "Because I can't stop seeing it. You lying there." The sound? His hands tightened around each other until his knuckles turned white. "I can't go home and pretend my life is the same. Not after this." Zara stared at him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she let out a small sigh. "You look worse than I feel." He huffed out something between a laugh and a sob. "I deserve that." "Maybe." Her voice was soft now, almost kind. "But if you're going to keep staring at me all night, at least bring me a coffee next time." Liam nodded solemnly. "Done." When the first pale light of morning crept through the blinds, Liam finally stood, his whole body aching from the night spent sitting upright. He looked at Zara one last time before leaving. Something inside him had shifted. He didn't know what this night meant yet, only that it had split his life cleanly in two, before the rain and after. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and something faintly metallic. Liam hated hospitals. He hated the bright lights, the constant beeping, the coldness of the tiles beneath his shoes, but he came back the next day anyway. He had barely slept after leaving in the morning. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard that sound again, the awful dull thud of metal meeting flesh. He'd spent hours pacing his penthouse, staring at the skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows, wondering what it meant that he couldn't just walk away. He told himself it was about guilt, about making things right. But deep down he knew it was more complicated than that. When he arrived, Zara was sitting up in bed, scrolling on her phone. Her braids were tied back this time, and she looked sharper, more awake, though her left arm was strapped in a sling, and she winced every now and then when she shifted. "You again?" she said, an eyebrow lifting. "You sound disappointed." Liam dropped a paper bag on the table beside her bed. "Coffee. And an apple muffin. I asked the nurse what you liked." Her lips curved just slightly. "Points for effort." She opened the bag and inhaled. "At least you're a man of your word." "I'm trying," he said quietly, and something in his tone made her glance up. For a few minutes they sat in silence, Zara sipping her coffee, Liam perched awkwardly in the chair by the bed. Finally she asked, "What's your deal?" "My deal?" "You've been here 2 nights in a row," she said, leveling him with a steady gaze. "You don't look like the type who spends his evenings in hospitals. So why are you here?" Liam hesitated. He could have lied, said he just wanted to make sure she was okay, that it was about responsibility. But the lie stuck in his throat. "Because I can't stop thinking about it," he admitted. "You lying there." "How close I came to," he trailed off, unable to say the word. Zara set down her cup. "You feel guilty?" "Yes." She tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle. "Good." Liam blinked. "Good?" "It means you have a conscience," Zara said simply. "Most people don't stick around. They hit and run and go on with their lives." He flinched. "I'm not most people." "I'm starting to see that," she said softly. Over the next week, Liam returned every day. Sometimes he brought food. Sometimes flowers. Once, a stack of magazines when she complained she was bored. At first, their conversations were short, polite small talk about the weather, the hospital food, her physical therapy. But slowly the walls began to crack. One night, as rain pattered against the window again, Zara asked, "What were you doing out so late that night?" Liam leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. "Leaving a charity gala." "Sounds glamorous." "It wasn't," he said with a bitter laugh. "Just another excuse for rich people to feel better about themselves for an evening. We drink, we smile for cameras, we write checks. Nothing really changes." Zara was quiet for a moment. "You don't like your world very much, do you?" Liam hesitated. No one ever asked him that, not seriously anyway. "I don't know if I ever did," he admitted. "It's empty." Like I've been going through the motions for years because it's what's expected. Make money. Throw parties. Be seen with the right people. And then, his throat tightened. Then I almost killed someone and suddenly none of it matters. Zara studied him, her expression softer now. Maybe this is your chance to figure out what does matter. Her words lingered with him long after he left that night. By the end of the second week, Liam had cancelled every social event on his calendar. His friends started texting. Where are you? Why are you ghosting us? We saw you in the paper outside the hospital. What's going on? He ignored most of them. For the first time in years, he wasn't going to dinners or parties or meetings just to be seen. Instead, he spent his evenings sitting in a hospital room, listening to Zara tell stories about the patients she treated, about the absurd things people said when they were scared. He found himself laughing more than he had in months. And when she smiled at him, really smiled, not the polite smile she used at first, something warm stirred in his chest, something that felt dangerously close to hope. But not everyone was pleased. One evening as he was leaving the hospital, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. The tinted window rolled down, revealing his closest friend, Nicholas. Liam, Nicholas said, his tone tight. Get in. Against his better judgment, Liam did. What's going on? Nicholas asked as the driver pulled away from the curb. You've been off the grid for 2 weeks. I had to track you down. Liam stared out the window. I've been busy. At a hospital? With a girl who, Nicholas caught himself. Look, I get it. You feel bad. But this obsession isn't healthy. You're making yourself look. Like what? Liam snapped, turning to face him. Nicholas hesitated, then said carefully, like a man who's losing control. Liam laughed, but it was humorless. Maybe control is exactly what I need to lose. When he returned to Zara's room later that night, she noticed immediately that something was off. You look like you just argued with someone, she said. Liam sat down, running a hand through his hair. Nicholas. He thinks I'm ruining my life. And are you? He looked at her, really looked at her, at the way her eyes met his without flinching, the way her presence grounded him even when he was spinning apart inside. No, he said quietly. For the first time, I think I might be saving it. Zara's gaze softened, but she said nothing. The next few days felt different. Their conversations went deeper, peeling back layers of who they were. Zara told him about growing up the oldest of 4, about working 2 jobs to put herself through nursing school. Why nursing? He asked one evening. She smiled faintly. Because I like helping people put themselves back together. Liam swallowed hard. You're doing that for me. For a moment, she just looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then she said almost reluctantly, You don't need me for that. You just need to decide who you want to be. He wanted to tell her that she was wrong, that she was the reason he wanted to be someone better, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he just stayed there, watching her breathe, feeling the weight of something building between them that neither of them wanted to name. The night she was finally discharged, Liam offered to drive her home. You don't have to, Zara said, slinging a small bag over her good shoulder. I want to. She hesitated, then nodded. The drive was quiet, the city lights streaking across the windshield. When they reached her apartment building, Zara turned to him. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not running away. Liam's throat felt tight. I couldn't. For a moment they just sat there, rain tapping gently on the roof of the car. Then Zara opened the door. Good night, Liam. He watched her walk inside, feeling that same strange pull in his chest, the one that told him this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The first week after Zara left the hospital felt strange. Liam kept expecting to wake up and find the whole thing had been some vivid dream. The rain, the accident, the nights spent in that sterile room. But then his phone buzzed with a message from Zara. Zara, the sling is driving me crazy. You owe me coffee. He smiled for the first time that morning. Over the next few days they settled into a quiet rhythm. Liam stopped by her apartment after work, sometimes with takeout, sometimes with nothing but his restless energy. They'd sit on her small couch, talking until late at night. She teased him about his expensive shoes tracking water into her living room. He teased her about the terrifying number of houseplants she owned. But under the laughter, something else simmered, something neither of them wanted to name. One rainy Friday, Zara surprised him by asking, So, what were you like before all this? Liam raised an eyebrow. Before what? Before you hit me with your fancy car. He smirked at her bluntness. You really like to remind me of that, don't you? Answer the question. He leaned back against the couch. Honestly, I was restless. Angry sometimes. Always looking for something to distract me. Parties, women, anything that kept me from thinking too hard about whether I was actually happy. And now, he hesitated. Now I just want to sit here and talk to you. Zara blinked, caught off guard by the sudden intimacy of his words. Liam? But he cut her off. You make me feel like I'm not wasting my life anymore. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him. But a part of her, the practical part, the part that had been let down too many times, whispered that this was dangerous. The following evening, Zara was quieter than usual. What's wrong? Liam asked as he set down the Chinese food he'd brought. Nothing. Zara? His tone was gentle, coaxing. She sighed and finally looked at him. I can't figure out what this is. This? You. Me. All of this. She gestured between them. You show up every day like it's your mission to make sure I'm okay. But Liam, I don't need saving. His chest tightened. I'm not trying to save you. Aren't you? No. His voice rose before he could stop it. I'm trying to save myself. Being with you, it's the first thing in years that feels real. Don't you get that? Zara froze. His words should have made her heart race, but instead, they scared her. Liam, she said quietly, you can't build your redemption on me. That's not fair. He stared at her like she'd just struck him. Is that what you think I'm doing? What else am I supposed to think? He stood abruptly, running a hand through his hair. I nearly killed you, Zara. If I'd been a second slower. But you weren't, she said sharply. You didn't kill me. You helped me. You stayed. Isn't that enough? He turned toward her, his jaw tight. No, it's not enough. Because when I leave here, I think about you. When I wake up, I think about you. When I close my eyes, I see you lying on that street and his voice cracked. It terrifies me. Because I can't lose you. Not now. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The rain outside beat against the windows like a drum. Finally, Zara whispered, maybe you should go. Liam's chest clenched. Zara? Please. The word was soft but final. He left without another word, the sound of the door closing behind him like a gunshot. That night, Liam drove aimlessly through the city. The rain blurred the lights until everything looked like smeared paint on a canvas. His thoughts circled endlessly. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am using her. Maybe I don't deserve to be near her at all. By the time he returned to his penthouse, he was soaked and exhausted. He poured himself a drink, but the whiskey tasted like nothing. He smashed the glass into the sink, the shattering sound echoing through the empty apartment. Then for the first time in years he broke down, shoulders shaking, hands gripping the counter like he might collapse. Meanwhile, Zara sat on her couch, staring at the darkened window. She hated the silence that followed his absence. She told herself she'd done the right thing, that she was protecting herself, that she couldn't let him make her the center of his transformation. But why did it feel like something inside her had been hollowed out? 3 days passed. No texts. No calls. Zara told herself she didn't care. She threw herself into her physical therapy, into returning to work. But every time her phone buzzed, her heart leapt, and then sank when it wasn't him. By the 4th night she couldn't take it anymore. She found herself outside his building, soaked from the rain, her heart hammering. The doorman hesitated but let her up after she insisted. When Liam opened the door, he looked like a man who hadn't slept in days, dark circles under his eyes, hair a mess. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Zara said softly, "You look awful." A ghost of a smile flickered across his face. "Thanks. I shouldn't have pushed you away," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He stepped back, letting her in. "You were right," he said quietly. "I was drowning and I grabbed onto you like you were the only thing keeping me afloat. That's not fair." She shook her head. "Liam, maybe we both needed that night to realize something. You can't live in the past, and I can't keep pretending I don't care what happens to you." His breath caught. "Zara?" The air between them felt electric charged. He took a step toward her. "You terrify me," he admitted. "Because you make me want things I didn't think I could have." Zara's chest ached at the rawness in his voice. "Then stop running from it," she whispered. The moment hung between them, fragile and heavy, a choice waiting to be made. Liam reached out, his hand trembling as it brushed her cheek. And for the first time, Zara didn't pull away. The next morning, Liam woke up with a clarity he hadn't felt in years. The night with Zara had cracked something open inside him. Not just his guilt, but the hollow shell he had been living in for so long. For once, he didn't put on the mask of the wealthy, untouchable CEO. He didn't check his phone, didn't scan through emails. Instead, he got dressed simply, jeans, a black sweater, and walked out of his penthouse like a man heading somewhere he needed to be. When Zara opened her apartment door, Liam stood there, drenched from the drizzle outside but breathing hard like he had run the whole way. "Liam?" He held up a hand. "Don't say anything yet. Please." Zara blinked, startled by the intensity in his voice. "I've spent weeks trying to figure out why I couldn't leave you alone," he said. "At first I thought it was guilt. Then I thought it was redemption. But it's not either of those things." He stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "It's you, Zara. You are the only thing that's made me feel alive in years. Not the money, not the cars, not the parties. Just you." Her heart pounded, but she stayed silent, letting him continue. "I don't want to go back to who I was before that night," he said. "And I don't want to go back to a life that doesn't have you in it. So I'm asking you, not to forgive me, not to save me, but to take a chance on me." The rain outside grew heavier, the sound filling the silence between them. Finally Zara whispered, "You're serious?" Liam let out a soft laugh, almost disbelieving. "I've never been more serious in my life." She looked at him for a long moment, her chest tight. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect herself from the possibility of heartbreak. But another part, the part that had missed him fiercely in those 3 silent days, whispered that maybe this was exactly what she had been waiting for. Slowly, she stepped forward until they were standing inches apart. "Liam," she said softly, if we do this, there's no going back." "Good," he said simply. "Because I don't want to." The next weeks felt like a second chance at life. Liam and Zara started spending real time together, not just in hospital rooms or late-night conversations but in the world. He took her to quiet cafes where no one recognized him, to bookstores tucked away in side streets, to the park where they could just sit and watch the city breathe. He told her about his childhood, about how his parents' constant expectations had shaped him into a man who didn't know how to stop performing. She told him about her struggles putting herself through school, about the nights she almost gave up, about the pride she felt helping strangers every day. Each confession was like a brick removed from the walls they had both built around themselves. One evening, Liam brought her to the street where it all began. The rain had just stopped, leaving the asphalt glistening under the streetlights. Zara glanced around, uneasy. "Why here?" "Because this is where my life ended," Liam said quietly. "And where it started again." He turned to face her, his expression open, vulnerable. "This place used to haunt me. Every time I thought about it, I felt sick, ashamed. But now, when I see it, I think about you. About the night everything changed." Zara's throat tightened. "You could have left me there," she whispered. "You didn't." He stepped closer. "Leaving you was never an option." Before she could respond, the roar of an approaching engine made them both turn. A black car slowed as it passed, its tinted windows glinting in the streetlight. Liam frowned, his hand instinctively finding Zara's. The car paused for a moment, long enough to make the air feel charged, before speeding off into the night. Zara looked at him, her brow furrowed. "What was that about?" "I don't know," Liam admitted, a strange unease settling in his gut. "But something tells me, this isn't over." They stood there in the middle of the wet street, hands clasped, the city around them humming softly. For the first time, Liam wasn't afraid of what came next. Whatever was waiting for him, for them, he knew he wouldn't face it alone. But somewhere deep down he also knew that the night that had changed his life once might be about to change it again.